Hello again, welcome back, and thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch Hello Good Game. Strixhaven, 9 sleeps away. Are you excited? Well, I know I am, and today we'll be playing with Silverquill Control. Silverquill is the college name for the Orzhov color combination of white and black. We've got some really powerful cards incorporated into this build, and as we grow into the meta, I think that stuff like Esper is really going to make its ugly head reappear in quite some fascinating ways. But for now, we're keeping it basic, keeping it simple, stupid, with just the two colors within this theory crafting video. Of course, the deck is open to your interpretation. Let me know what you think of it, how you would improve it in the comments below, and most importantly, if you do have any suggestions, let us know why, so we can figure out where you're coming at with them instead of just being confused. If you want to show your support on the channel, just go ahead, like the video, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Don't miss out on any of our giveaways and contests, which you can find easily within our link tree in the description below, or Google Hello Good Game link tree. Blah, blah, blah. Just get into it already. Alrighty, so welcome to Aether Hub. This is where we will be doing all of our theory crafting, which is quite cool. The new cards have already been added, so if you want to make decks early, that's how I personally do it. We're going to break down the deck list here and talk about some of the strategies and synergies within the new cards, and even some of them linking back to older cards. So, getting right into it, we've got 2 copies of Fracture at instant speed for 2 mana. Destroy target artifact, enchantment, or planeswalker. This is very good. It's at instant speed, which is amazing, and it can take care of 3 different kinds of permanents. Moving on, we do have 3 copies of Vanishing Verse, also for 2 mana at instant speed. Exile target monocolored permanent, whether it be the Great Henge, Embercleave, the list goes on and on. There are so many monocolored permanents that are absolutely game-breaking. Even Toski you can grab potentially. 4 copies of Mazemind Tome, and now this is just a staple mark in any control deck. We tap it to scry 1, we pay 2 tap it to draw a card. Every time we tap it, a page counter is put onto the tome, and once there are 4 page counters, you will exile it if you do gain 4 life. 2 copies of Study Break at instant speed. Tap up to 2 target creatures, learn. This is the way we will be taking advantage of the lesson cards within Best of 1, giving us, a wish board regardless of what color you're playing, which is really quite cool. So, slowing down some of those attackers at instant speed and getting a draw from our sideboard right for the occasion is going to be a very good play, I find here. We have 2 copies of The Birth of Meletis. A saga. When it enters play, grab up planes, then shuffle. It comes into our hand, of course, not the battlefield. That would be cool. Next up, create a 0/4 colorless defender, and finally gain 3 life when you sack the birth. So, just a little bit of consistency here. Again, we can stop some of the aggro decks with the defender and the life gain. Moving on, we do have 2 copies of Humiliate, sorcery speed for 2. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it. That player discards that card. You put a +1/+1 counter on a target creature that we control, which is really quite nice, and we do have a few creatures to take advantage of this. But overall, even if we can get into their hand and take anything that we want for 2 mana, not that bad. Moving on, we have 2 copies of the Elite Spellbinder for 3 mana. It's a 3/1 with flying, and whenever the Elite Spellbinder enters the battlefield, look at target opponent's hand. You may exile a non-land card from it, and as long as that card remains exiled, its owner may play it for an additional cost of 2 to cast it. 2 copies of the Skyclave Apparition. There's nothing new here. A 3 CMC 2/2, and when it enters play, exile target non-land permanent, also non-token permanent that our opponent controls, with converted mana cost 4 or less. When it leaves the battlefield, exiled card's owner creates an XX blue illusion creature token, where X is that card's converted mana cost. 3 copies of Baleful Mastery for 4 mana at instant speed. You may pay 2 mana rather than the spell's mana cost, and if you do pay the 2 mana, target opponent draws a card. Also, exile target creature or planeswalker as the general spell's effect at instant speed for 4, but we can reduce that cost by 2, which I think is actually relatively helpful. It's very good late game, and you can use it early game if you really, really need to. 2 copies of Extinction Event Sorcery Suite for 4, choosing odd or even, and exiling each creature with the chosen cost. 2 copies of Shadow Verdict, exiling all creatures and planeswalkers from the field and the graveyard with 3 or less mana, converted there. And 2 copies of Kaya the Inexorable, 5 loyalty planeswalker for 5 mana, +1, put a ghost form counter on target creature that we control. It gains whenever this creature dies or is put into exile, return it to the owner's hand, and create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. We have the Spellbinder, we have the Apparition, we have the Blood Mage. These all have very powerful ETB effects that we can be replaying through Kaya. -3, exile target non-land permanent, future control. -7, you get an emblem with at the beginning of your upkeep. You may cast a legendary spell from your hand, graveyard, or among cards you own in exile without paying their mana cost. We do have Kaya as a legendary spell, and we also have our Professor Onyx as a legendary spell. This is a 6 CMC 5 loyalty planeswalker with Magecraft as a static ability. Whenever you copy an instant or sorcery spell, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. +1, you lose 1 life. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, put 1 of them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. -3, each opponent sacrifices a creature with the greatest power among creatures that that player controls. And -8, each opponent may discard a card. If they don't, they lose 3 life. Repeat this process 6 more times, so that's going to be a total of 7 times, which is kind of redonkulous. We also have 2 copies of Blood on the Snow, sorcery speed, choose 1, destroy all creatures or destroy all planeswalkers, then return a creature or planeswalker card with converted mana cost X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the amount of snow spent to cast the spell. We can be pulling Professor Onyx, we can be pulling Kaya, we can be pulling any of our 3 creatures, Spellbinder, Apparition, Blood Mage. We've got the land, pathways, snarls, snow swamps and plains, and the Temple of Silence. We also have a single Faceless Haven as an attacker. Into our sideboard now, consisting solely of lesson cards. Confront the Past for 1 mana plus X at sorcery speed, choose 1. Return target planeswalker card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, grabbing Liliana, grabbing Kaya again, or remove up to twice X loyalty counters from target planeswalker and opponent controls, a great way to deal with opposing planeswalkers. Academic Probation, sorcery speed for 2 mana, choose 1. Choose a non-land card name. Opponents can't cast spells with the chosen name until their next turn, just slowing our opponent down a little bit, giving us that wiggle room that we might need. Or choose target non-land permanent, and until your next turn, it can't attack or block, and its activated abilities can't be activated. Again, just helping us survive. 2 copies of Environmental Science, sorcery speed for 2. Search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. You gain 2 life. Ink Summoning for 3. At sorcery speed, create a 2/1 white and black inkling creature with flying. 2 copies of Introduction to Prophecy, scry 2, then draw a card for 3 mana at sorcery speed. 2 copies of Reduced to Memory, sorcery speed for 3 mana, exile target non-land permanent, its owner creates a 3/2 red and white spirit creature token. And finally, 2 copies of Mascot Exhibition for 7 mana, at sorcery speed, creating a 2/1 white and black inkling creature token with flying, a 3/2 red and white spirit creature token, and a 4/4 blue and red elemental creature token, which is quite cool. So that's the deck. Zooming out, we can do some cool simulations here. We'll take a brand new draw. We get 3 lands in hand. We see a Shadow's Verdict, which I always love in Best of 1. Birth of Malatus, which is going to help us get there. Kaya for after the fact. And then we've got the land. The Snarl is really nice, so we could reveal a swamp to get that in untapped. And Balefit's Mastery, if we need to remove anything, we'll take a draw, see what we get. Another land. Take a draw. Oh, another land. Getting to that Shadow's Verdict right away. And then we've got Study Break, which allows us to get into our sideboard to pull whatever we want to deal with our opponent. Blood on the Snow, in case they deal with our Kaya, to pull it back. Also wiping the field if they reflood after Verdict. And Humiliate to see what's in their hand and probably close out the game. Another land. And Amaze My Tome, which kind of upsets the draw feature from the deck because now we can scry and do all that. So, that's really cool that we can take the simulated hands. We can also take a look at the, where we go, simulate here, to do 100 simulations for our land total. And I really like to have 3 land in my opening hand. 4 is fine. 2 is pretty risky unless you have the scries. We are running 26 land in the deck, so it does help that we know that we've got a good chance to draw one afterwards, and we've got the scry and the birth that can help us there too. But having 4 land is fine. I wouldn't ever keep a hand with 5 land unless you knew what you were playing against. You had a wipe, and of course the same goes for the 1 and 2. So, the 0 and 1s. So you're really looking for 2, 3, and 4 as land drops in your opening hand. With that all out of the way, we can take a look at the gallery finally, zoom out, get a full picture of what's going on here. It is quite an expensive deck if you're buying it on paper, and of course I encourage you to do that through our TCG link because I get a couple of percentages there as well. But I like it. I like the idea that Kaya is becoming more relevant. We have the Blood Mage, which I find to be super, super good for 3 mana, and we also have the Spellbinder, which is just as good, right? These cards are rivaling the value of Skyclave Apparition almost. So it's nice to see these really strong 3-drops, and they're all backed up by these amazing 2-drops, right? Vanishing Verse, Fracture, Humiliate, and even Baleful Mastery can be cast for 2, which is pretty crazy. Exile creature for 2 mana. Wow. Definitely worth it if it's indestructible and they're going to get a draw. It could just be a land, right? So that's the deck. Let me know what you guys think of it in the comments below. Strixhaven Silverquill Control by Hello Good Game. I've really been enjoying Strixhaven so far. I've been brewing a basic deck for each of the schools. We did Witherbloom. This is Strixhaven, and I believe tomorrow we'll break into the Quandrix deck that I have for you guys. So again, thank you so much for your time and attention. Support the channel by liking, commenting, subscribing to the channel. Support financially on Twitch, Patreon, YouTube, through Amazon, Great Viking Games, Into the AM. All of that jazz can be found in the Linktree link, and you can find our giveaways and all that in there as well. So thank you again for your time, and we'll see you soon in the next video.